Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming along. And yeah, of course, we appreciate you taking the time to join in with us today. So this is the second of our webinars hosted alongside the Nebraska Society of CPAs. And yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all as a group. So today's session aims to share some really practical ways that you can design and deliver some advisory services for your ag clients. You'll see, how to build a simple CAS service that is based around planning, but then also giving farmers forward-looking view of their business that they really need, rather than those retrospective discussions that we tend to see, more of in today. So before we get into it, just to really quickly introduce myself. So for those of you who weren't on our last webinar, my name is Mitchell Parks, and I'm an account executive currently based in Denver, Colorado for Figured. I originally grew up on our family farm in southern New Zealand on a sheep and beef property with just under 5,000 stock units before we made a transition into dairy. So as I moved through high school and university, I really enjoyed accounting and finance. So I eventually graduated with a BCom in accounting, and then spent a number of years working for a national accounting firm back in New Zealand, based in their agriculture team. So since being at Figured, I've worked with accounting firms across New Zealand and now obviously the United States to help them drive efficiency, increase value of their ag accounting and advisory services, utilizing cloud accounting tools to promote those high value discussions and the kind of work that we all would like to be doing more of. It's a great challenge, and it really does fulfill two parts of my life anyway that I'm extremely passionate about. Erin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Eric. I obviously don't have an accent, unless you picked up on my Midwest accent, but I'm happily Mitch's American counterpart. Originally from Indianapolis, but I've been in Denver 5 years now, and actually have been supporting accountants and their clients ever since I got here. Prior to Figured, I actually worked at Zero Cloud Accounting, if you've heard of it. It's kind of the QuickBooks equivalent. But there I spent 3 years becoming really passionate about helping accountants find efficiency in your work, in your workflows, and honestly helping with the change management of moving to the cloud, which we all know is not the easiest task. Figured's actually allowed me to combine my interest in ag, from being from the Midwest. I do love corn, but I still get to work with practices across the US, helping you all reach your accounting goals, which I love. But when I'm not working with partners or co-hosting webinars, I love skiing and trying new restaurants here in the city. So if you do make your way to Denver and want some recommendations, feel free to reach out. But, we have our poll question 1. Are you still here? Hopefully. Give you guys a few seconds to answer that. But here is our roadmap for today. We're going to be diving into service design and show you how to easily assemble CAS services for your ag clients. This is a piece of work we heavily work with our current partners on. It often comes up as one of the largest barriers just to getting started. We know how hard it can be to get started, so rather than tell you what to do, we're going to show you how you can get started by showing some real-world examples from some of our current partners. There's also a huge range of services you could look to deploy, but today we're going to focus on some specific use cases. Some of those being building planning-based services, helping you become more proactive with your clients, all in hopes of looking ahead with confidence. I think that's kind of all of our goals, right? Lastly, we do have a special offer to share with you at the end, so be sure to stick around. And then to make it clear, our goal today isn't really to sell you anything. It's to share what we've learned in this space with accountants and our partners in hopes of forming some, helping you form strong advisory relationships with your farm clients. What we also hope to leave you with is just practical concepts about how to assemble and monetize CAS at scale. So again, what will you walk away with from today's session? We want to make sure this webinar is practical and useful to everyone here. It's not meant to be conceptual. Again, we don't just want to tell you what to do. It's designed to give you some very clear next steps that you can take and implement today. At the end, we hope you'll be able to identify 5 to 10 clients in your current portfolio that you could start developing advisory services with today. And this is without needing more time or more people and without disrupting your current workflows. Secondly, how to deliver advisory services using your existing resources, like I mentioned above, and really have interesting and valuable forward-looking conversations. Lastly, we also want to share some real stories that we've experienced on how this has been achieved by other advisors. This is to help you see how the role you can have in your clients' businesses and how they can achieve their goals.
Cool, thanks, Erin. So we're doing this because, we do believe that there are some really, really clear signs in the industry that farmers and ag producers need to be planning and having a better view of their financial position at a day-to-day basis, to be frank. I don't think anyone here today would really argue otherwise that we want our farmers and our clients to be more financially literate and have a better view of their numbers going into the upcoming seasons. And we also believe that farmers recognise they need the plan as well. There's immense pressures from banks and climbing interest rates. We see commodity price changes, general market volatility, weather events, the list goes on. But we think it's important that farmers are not only planning, but they're also planning with the right people. And we really do believe that is you as their accountant and as their advisor. So up until now, CAS, or Client Advisory Services, has required a really lengthy and manual process. Lots of complex spreadsheets, significant experience that might be held by 1 or 2 particular individuals, which makes it really, really hard to scale. And so these services have always been confined to that top 5 or 10% of your clients. You simply don't have enough people or time to do everything that your farmers would like you to. But what we want to be able to share is, I guess, what we see as a solution to all that, and one that we also think you can hopefully get started with today as well. So some of you might have a vision for how CAS could transform your firm, your client relationships, that dream of a streamlined process, deeper insights, or new revenue streams as well. But often that does feel like a really distant reality or a distant vision. It's that future state that could be months or even years away. And let's be honest, most CAS conversations are really stuck in the future. It's full of what ifs, someday, maybe we'll get around to it. Yeah, we'd like to do that. Leaving you just with the same problems that you're facing today anyway. So we don't want you to start using, any other tools or solutions that work on that false dream. It's about being able to get started, today, in this current season, in this current year. It's about working with the people, the processes, and the clients that you already have. You can then integrate your tools seamlessly into those existing practices using a productized solution. It means we can tackle it today, without that massive overhaul of existing practices. So it's a solution designed by accountants and advisors for accountants and advisors. And it's not something that you have to custom build from scratch. Your vision is achievable now. And it's about rethinking how you deliver services to your clients. We want you to be able to use a methodology that already exists today to build a more efficient, profitable, client-centric practice, all that stuff that we really, enjoy and want to do more of. So by the end of the session, we hope to show you just how easy it is to design and deliver some of these productized service packages, a lot like this one here. Some of you who were on the last webinar might recognize this slide. So it's something that we developed with one of our accounting partners. We're not talking about a revolution here. It's a pretty straightforward, clear-cut service. But what it did is it helped make scaling their planning service possible. And the clients really valued that clear proposition that was put out in front of them. So the other key to these services being scalable is that it requires those purpose-built tools with out-of-the-box functionality. Each of these tiers isn't something that we want to be massively high touch or involve another manual process. We want your time to be spent in the client meetings, helping them with their business, and then they can also see what can be next. How can I really go into that next level of taking ownership of my own business? Erin, do you want to take us through what we see as the 3 steps?
Yeah, definitely. So if you were in the last webinar, this probably looks familiar as well, but to get to that last slide and to that, service-based offering, we like to share this 3-step framework that we use to help firms build that effective approach to CADs. That first bubble there is going to be prioritizing the clients that need and value these planning and advisory services the most. So you're not just left with a lack of clarity on who to even start with. Secondly comes productizing a streamlined service offering, which is similar to that last slide. It's crucial to productize services in a way that simplifies both their assembly and their delivery. We'll discuss how to create a structured plan today that really aligns with your current team, your current processes, and the clients you're already working with. And then there's communicate. Sometimes this one can be really difficult, is what we've seen, but how do you actually tell your customers about these services and share how they provide value to your client's business? Today, we're going to be diving into the 2 critical aspects of this framework, how to prioritize clients and how to productize services. So that first bubble in the 3-step framework is prioritization. Unlocking this is often the key to just getting started. When you're thinking about CAS, we've seen it be very difficult to break down your current clients into manageable chunks. You don't want to try to boil the ocean or kind of get buried in a project so big that it takes away from your core business or becomes extremely unmotivating. Where firms are finding the most success, what we've seen is getting started. It's simply done by segmenting their current client base based on their needs, and then prioritizing the clients that need and will value CAS the most. That way, you know exactly who to start with, what they need, and how you can add value beyond just tax or compliance to their business, which is where we've seen a lot of partners sitting currently. This also makes it really easy to get started. It simplifies the process of just getting the ball rolling, which we've seen as kind of the hardest part. So as a starting point, this is an example of what we mean by segmenting your clients. There are things you can do to easily identify your clients based on their data and also just the personal knowledge of each client that you have, and segment them in different ways. So for example, how can you work with a group of clients just more efficiently? Who are you maybe providing CAS for at the moment, and you'd like to make it more efficient? With harvest happening right now, you do have the opportunity to collect that up-to-date production information, manage grain storage, and analyze the profitability of their crops now, not after the tax filing when you're probably already overwhelmed with the amount of work you're doing for each client. And that point, you can then assist them with marketing decisions and tax planning related to the crop sales this year. This is just definitely a more efficient way of approaching that service. Or we can look at those who maybe you helped with planning or budgeting for last year. That can be a group of people you can work with more efficiently. Also, could we maybe remove those instances where you're having to double handle a lot of information because you are working with multiple systems or spreadsheets with a group of clients? And then lastly, who's maybe asking for help at the last minute with plans and budgets and turning to you for advice on whether they can or should do this or that? There's an opportunity here to get in front of those types of clients with more proactive services. This group is likely already, again, asking for these services, but just not at the right time. Maybe it's the middle of tax season, which just doesn't really help either of you. So that is kind of a group of clients that you could segment looking for more efficiency. Secondly, what clients maybe have growth opportunities in your portfolio? Who's looking to maybe expand their operations or capitalize on what's happening in the market today? For example, some recent information from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln actually stated that 10 of the 12 states that contribute to the CME Feeder Cattle Index reported price declines in September. Nebraska, though, actually stood out as an exception. Your state had a strong rebound in prices of 500 to 600 pound cattle. So looking ahead, the basis is expected to probably remain high, reflecting really strong cash market conditions. So based on your current client base, maybe who could capitalize on this change. But the reality is they need the right guidance and support to make that decision at the right time. So again, who could maybe benefit from your help on some big market changes? Secondly, could we look at a group of clients that maybe are leveraging debt for growth? They're likely leaning into growth opportunities. There's also growth opportunities in younger farmers or new entrants into the ag space with, large dreams. And then lastly, and kind of the segment that we hear most often, at least right now, is older farmers who are looking at succession and exit planning. As their advisor, you're in the strongest position to leverage your own knowledge that you have of the client, your network, if they're maybe looking to sell, and experience to guide them on the right path. So those are all kind of people you could look at to segment for potential growth opportunities in that second bucket. And then lastly, maybe it's a group of clients that are currently under pressure. Are there some clients that really do need you actively on a regular basis? For example, like this year's excessive spring rainfall and flooding definitely affected a lot of farmers in Nebraska. What can you do to help your clients, assess this financial impact of that delay and adjust their crop budgets and track yields to optimize profitability? Those are, great people who are probably under a lot of pressure right now. Secondly, are there maybe some clients under pressure carrying a lot of debt? And then lastly, clients who are maybe disproportionately affected by changes to input costs or commodity prices. With tools that you have now, are you able to identify these clients using real-time or current data? If not, we definitely can help you with that in a separate conversation, but likely those are other clients that are definitely under pressure. What's cool about these three buckets or just segmenting your clients in general is you probably already know who fits into each one of these buckets or have an idea of segmenting your clients that, works best for you. But if not, these are, great characteristics that are usually pretty identifiable within your client's data.
Yeah, and just a bit further to that as well. If we think about where a lot of firms are at now and where we think it's important to get to, it's important that we need to be really clear that we're not saying to grow your planning service, you need to go out and find all these new clients or to plan with because your current clients haven't expressed an interest in planning. We found it to be the total opposite of that. And we know that when firms take on this initiative, the top performing ones have been able to source up to 79% of their advisory revenue, so their new advisory revenue from that existing tax and compliance base. So 79% have just come in through that existing relationship that they already had. So it's really important to identify where that new revenue will come from in that existing client portfolio. Now, this pyramid isn't representative of all firms, but we've definitely seen it to be a broadly typical breakdown of client portfolios in this market. So you've got that top 5-10% of clients that you already do proactive planning for. It's often that white glove service. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. It is valuable, but it's really hard to scale to more than those ones that you're already doing it for already. Then there's those that you provide a plan for when a situation or a catalyst occurs. So like those examples that Erin came up with, is it bank pressure, Has it been a climate event? Anything that could be impacting the longevity of the business. But those ones are ad hoc. So it's when they need it for any of those particular examples. It's really, really reactive. Then we've got that ever widening middle band. It's a cohort of clients that could and should be planning, but they just haven't expressed an interest in it yet. And you're not going to provide it to them in that structured way because it's going to take time and it's going to be too hard to scale based on the ones that you're already doing, a high level of compliance, a high level of planning for already. So we're trying to move the pyramid more from this to something a bit more like this one. And the two segments in the middle, we think we can become that middle majority. And they represent that really significant opportunity if a scalable service is implemented. So the question to everyone on the call today is, could technology allow you to take some of that white glove advisory and layer it into that middle cohort in a much more efficient and scalable way? Lastly, and realistically, there's always going to be a portion of your client base who just aren't going to get into this. And that's perfectly fine. But there is still an opportunity that they could perhaps still do with some form of light touch technology that allows you to deliver some insights and outputs that are still relevant for them, but it take extremely little effort from yourself because you're using the data that's already there today. So you can't do this for all your clients in the middle section at once, but what you can do is start by prioritizing those that need and value it the most. That's all what we want to cover in that point. How can we prioritize those and just really make a start on this to start opening up that middle majority band?
Yeah, definitely. So once you have, your client base segmented and prioritized, in the same way as prioritizing customers is critical, so is productizing the services you deliver. And we see that being as the best way of building that middle band of service planning. There are stacks of features and outputs that are available out of the box and fully formed from a product like Figured or others in the space. And honestly, that's what we're really excited about. And this is the center of our webinar today. We've heard from our partners everywhere about how much they want to see the how. It's like, okay, we can prioritize our clients, and then how do we implement this? What are the outputs? What can you actually deliver? What conversations are people now having with their farm clients? What to charge them for these conversations? And then just how to assemble these services in general. So today is really about helping you do this, stepping into productizing, and really building a planning-based service offering. All right, we have our poll question 2. I'll submit mine now. I hope I'm still here. Awesome. So now that y'all have probably gotten that submitted, you might be wondering, could I deliver productized services with the general accounting tools that I'm currently using? This is the workflow we have established, such as spreadsheets. But the fact is, spreadsheets were never designed to be a specialist ag tool. They really were made to serve a broad amount of people and needs. Ag accountants are specialists. I think we all have that understanding. And spreadsheets can't really help you be that for your clients. When spreadsheets are used as an agribusiness account advisory tool, they become very complex. Mitch and I can probably share a lot of the spreadsheets we've seen that y'all are using. And they're very beautiful, but very complex. They involve double handling. There's many passing of back and forth through emails and actual physical documents, and they're highly personalized. And honestly, the combination of all of these things makes it really difficult to scale. And Mitch is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks. And so, we've established why in reality, spreadsheets aren't that solution for a scalable advisory service. So what do we think a solution looks like? If you're an ag accountant, You need tools that were specifically built for managing ag data and the outputs that come with that. So that means a tool that allows you to unlock the potential of the data and actually let you use it. So you're utilizing the cloud and the fact that you have live and up-to-date financial information in a single ledger. You're removing a significant amount of that double handling and that manual input. And it's not just the financial data, but the production data as well. It's what gives you the ability to report on both and demonstrate the relationship between them. We know that our farming clients are really, really tangible people. They spend their lives out on the land. They know that sun and water is what grows crops. So we need to help them make those financial documents tangible as well. And so it's also about leveraging the power of automation. When your client data is in a platform that's designed for you to make use of it, it gives you that out-of-the-box specific reporting capability. And having the ability to produce a standardized set of reports is what's going to allow you to deliver those reports to a lot more of your clients at scale. So you've got the ability to produce custom reporting templates. They're populated with your client's financial and production data. You can then schedule or get that sent to your clients at a cadence of what's you're choosing. And importantly, you need a tool that is built to integrate with all your ag accounting workflows. So all of that allows you to empower your people. And so it's not just the directors or the most senior advisors participating in the high value and engaging, interesting work that we all want to be doing more of. We allow you to bring in a wider range of your staff into your team as well. How can we get a few more of those junior managers or entry-level accountants coming in and being part of those advisory discussions? We all know that the best way to learn is quite often just by doing. So how can we make it exciting and enticing to have the whole team involved in that process? And so we've spoken about how, if we use something that's purpose-built for ag, can help you deliver those scalable CAS solutions for your firm and your clients. And this is more of a way, just to, help illustrate what I mean by a lot of that. So if you think what you're doing today or in the past, those traditional ways of working meant that for every client you provide planning and advisory to, it creates more work and more complexity for your practice. So right there's a fundamental misalignment between what your clients need, but what you as a firm need. How many of you on the webinar in the past have thought about doing more of this type of forward-thinking, client-facing work, or even just really wanted to get into doing more of that value add and helping out, but we're just held back by a capacity or a resource constraint? I can almost guarantee it'll be a very large majority. But once you've established a productized and a standardized service, that misalignment, we can completely flip it. Suddenly, the more clients you bring into a productized service, the more standardization you can achieve within your firm. You're removing the ad hoc, the one-off, the complex workflows, the complex spreadsheets that are individualized to one particular client. And importantly, you're giving more farmers the benefits of your experience that we know they need and want. And it will be a process. We're not going to get there overnight. But importantly, we think you can make a start still. And making a start is what's going to make an impact. Just like how you can prioritize your target clients, you can prioritize what services you deliver. So there's no need to do everything for everyone. It's because we've done that productization, we've standardized it, and we've got those buckets that we can use to put each of our clients into. So on that point, we do want to look at a few examples of what some of those productized outputs could look like, and then some of the conversations that we've seen and ones that we think can happen as well. Erin, do you want to take us through a scenario option?
Yeah. So one of those examples is actually a 5-year scenario. So we see now more than ever, farmers are really needing to make decisions that will have a long-term impact on their business. Using the scenario tool, we can actually model out a status quo over the next 5 years. So how does the farm look if they just continue to make the same decisions and same assumptions year over year for the next 5 years? And then once you have that built out and a good understanding of those numbers, you can start to add larger assumptions, start plugging in some of the questions that they might be asking you. Can I comfortably retire in the next 5 years and know that, my farming business will be in good standing? I'm setting them up for success. For another example would be, is it a smart decision to continue leasing the neighboring farm, or would it be smarter to just go ahead and purchase it instead? So kind of answering some of those questions that right now seem quite daunting. And that's because when we start pulling together the live production and financial data that is already on hand, it creates relevance and meaning for your farmers. We can also be using this tool across the practice. So it's going to be used by not just one internal expert. It gives everyone in the firm an opportunity to learn more and develop their assumptions to become experts as well, which just provides just a general level of efficiency. An example of actually where we saw the power of scenario planning was with a rancher who was a figured user here out west, who was kind of a super figured user, we like to call them, but he had a really successful ranching operation, loved the work, and saw a yearly profit, or so he thought. And he was continued to be approached by multiple buyers with attractive offers, but really just felt like I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm making a profit every year. Are these offers do they not only make sense, but actually put me in a better position moving forward? Which at the moment he couldn't answer, which is why he leaned into figured. But he decided to get really nitty gritty with the numbers in the platform with scenario planning, breaking down line by line his entire balance sheet, inputting every single income and expense that he had, which, at the moment he hadn't really looked into. And what he found was he actually was not as profitable each year as much as he thought he was. And then looking at the 5-year cost analysis that the scenario planning tool projects, he found he was much better off selling his ranch and just really couldn't deny those numbers. Obviously, this ranching example was really exciting to talk with him about, but it wasn't a unique situation. We actually hear this from quite a lot of our users and accounting partners. Once you build out your farmer's financials for a specific question or scenario and just have that baseline status quo, the numbers don't really lie and can be quite surprising, which is what we found is pretty powerful of the scenarios tool. Another one of the outputs that our partners have found helpful and looped into kind of productizing is the farm level summary reporting. For example, in this case, I want to review my crop season as it stands today, which I can do with our crop season summary report. This is because, for example, I've been capturing all the financial records from my farmer's accounting platform. I'm able to run a report and figured with that production data that they've given me this year thus far and make an informed decision or recommendation that's based on live information. Instead of guessing, which we kind of felt the rancher had been doing, or coming up with a rough estimate of what has been spent so far in the growing season, we can have the actual financials to back it up, which is pretty cool. But having this information readily available and reporting on per acre or per bushel basis, we're making it relevant to our farmers. But we're also standardizing the output, which creates quite a bit of efficiency throughout the practice. We then don't have a specific Excel sheet for each and every client. It makes this information comparable, so you're not risking data integrity. And it means that no matter who is using the report, you will be able to compare and contrast the outputs across your teams and your clients. It gives you the chance to foster more collaboration too, and also just a better understanding of different farmer businesses throughout the firm. You also then can add value to existing engagements while also growing the internal knowledge base that your team has as well. Mitch is now going to go and give a little bit more of an example of this in action.
Yeah, so and one example where we saw this at work was with the Garrett Land and Cattle Company. So they're a 7,000 acre livestock and crop farm based in Western Iowa. So Kelly Garrett is a sixth generation rancher on this property. And in more recent years as well, I've been running the farm alongside his three sons. Over time, as they expanded the farm, grew their operations, it became pretty evident that their current way of managing the farm's finances through spreadsheets, outdated tracking solutions, it wasn't cutting it. They weren't getting the information in a time that was meaningful enough to allow them to make a decision that was actually going to carry their business forward. So enter in Jared Creed and Jeff Jansen. So they're from JC Ag Financial Services. And so together with Kelly, they've developed a much better way of working and managing the farm's financial and production information, but doing it in real time. So they're able to build and maintain a really accurate view of the farm's performance. They can then actually respond to market changes and help plan for the future. And it's with that increase in confidence and knowing basically that his numbers on any given day were going to be up to date, they're actually able to make a lot more of those bold decisions with a heap more confidence. Again, it's removing the guesswork, removing all those numbers that we think are in our head, that we think is about right. When the numbers are there reconciled and coming through in real time, you can't hide it and you can't lie about it. So now they're always looking at ways to expand their operation. They've been looking at direct to consumer sales of beef, cutting out some of the middlemen and some of their production services, and then also being able just to sell their corn at the perfect time to optimize profitability, because they know exactly what their cost per bushel or per acre might be. They know what they need to get to a certain level of profitability to give them that certainty from both a cash flow and a basically future-proofing the business as well. The key there, though, is that they're always looking forward. They're very, very rarely looking backward at whether it's the compliance operation that's been done over the past year. They're actually looking to the future consistently because they've got the live information there, excuse me, and ready to go. So we also appreciate that a lot of your clients need to be making decisions right now. And that's going to have a much shorter impact on the day-to-day farming business. So if we look at something like the planning grid, where you can create that full top-down plan, allocate specific income and expenditure to different profit centers, whether that be a corn crop, a livestock operation, a soy crop. It's about creating something that's then actionable and creates accountability for your farmers now. So it's also a tool that can be used to make those decisions on the farm over the next 6 months, the next 2 months, heck, even over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And it's not set and forget either. We can reforecast, we can take a snapshot, we can use the most up-to-date business plan reflecting what's actually happening on reality on the farm. We all know that problems can come out of the blue, whether that's a weather event, a major repair bill. Everyone in your team has that ability to come in and do a reforecast. They can then analyze the impact. What would this actually mean for that particular client? And can we review it against the rest of the team? From there, let's have a conversation with that particular client and then give them the confidence to keep moving forward, knowing that they really do have a plan, but they've also got a team behind them that makes sure it's going to happen and keep them in business for the years going forward. So the last example I wanted to provide today relates to being able to get a view of whether a farm was actually going to make it through the upcoming season or not. So in this case, it was a crash in milk prices for the upcoming season. This farm had approximately, I think it was 500 or 600 dairy cattle, but they were really highly leveraged. They were within, I think, their first 5 years of farm ownership and operations. But this was the first year that there had been such a really unexpected deviation in what their income was going to be. And then to make matters worse, they had a horrible, horrible spring, way worse than what they expected, which meant they also had to purchase an additional feed because what they already had on hand was not going to be enough to supplement the lack that they had available. Now, they did have a pre-existing relationship with their advisor from a compliance perspective. And they had also engaged their help a little bit when they purchased this particular property. Now, fortunately, they were aware that that help was available through that particular advisor. And they reached out to them to get help and an understanding of whether they were going to make it or whether they need to look at selling cattle, selling a chunk of the land, what options were actually on the table. Because they had access to that most up-to-date financial information between the advisor and the farmer, they were able to generate a budget just for the rest of the season. So I think it was only another 6 or 7 months. And they realized that there was a clear way forward. They still could actually be profitable while meeting their financial and debt obligations as well. And the biggest one, though, and it's the obvious one as well, was actually just being able to rest at the end of the day. They knew they had a path forward, and they knew that they were going to get through this season, with their family and with the farming operation continuing. But it was also knowing that they had someone else in their corner to help them through that hard time. And that was their advisor in this instance. Awesome. Erin, do you want to talk through a little bit of this as well?
Yeah, so while those were just a few key examples that, stick out for Mitch and I, these are conversations we're having all the time with our figured users and partners. We have a number of other examples like we just showed you for all the other outputs and discussion points that you could be having with your clients, detailing what the output is, why it's important, and also the types of conversations it enables you to have with your ag clients. Again, the point here is that you have an ag-specific output that can be delivered with efficiency to your prioritized clients whom will find them valuable. And as we know, farming is not a 9-to-5 job, and neither is yours as their accountant. A great way we've seen to productize your service is also to design it so that you're connecting with these clients throughout the entire year. For example, throughout Q1, you have a streamlined solution that helps you efficiently gather client information, reducing back and forth and ensuring accurate filings. You knowing that everyone is utilizing the same live data and information just allows you to complete existing workflows more efficiently and in a timely manner. Thus, when we move into Q2, we can start to analyze that Q1 results with your clients. You're setting the stage for proactive decision-making, as they're heading into a critical time of year for themselves, making farm decisions every single day. And then with, again, that live data and access to it, in Q3, you can offer clients, maybe a mid-year review, addressing concerns and adjusting strategies before the financial year end based on how the season's going. And then also offer any insight on market changes since your last interaction in Q2 or even Q1. And then lastly, as we head into Q4, the streamlined reporting, in-season reconciling, and information gathering. This just makes it a less stressful time of year for everyone, especially yourself, and then also less burdensome for your farmers who are also entering a really busy time of year on the farm. So what we're doing with productizing is really developing a rhythm that aligns to your client's needs and also fostering a year-round relationship built on trust, insights, and proactive support, which if you're really only meeting with them one time a year now is a lot harder to do. Utilizing an out-of-the-box solution with an accounting platform and Figured empowers you to be more than just an accountant. You really are a trusted advisor on their farming team.
Awesome. And you might remember this slide, right at the start. When you take that future-facing service, a particular cadence of engagement, we very quickly get to what that productized, scalable ag CAS could look like. It's that ultimate end game and the vision. And so this approach is how a lot of our partners have been able to establish those high value services in a really short period of time, but that they can be delivered by that whole team that comes out of the box. So at each of these different service levels, there's different items, different outputs that your client will get as part of that productized package. Each of these packages can then map back to the different customer segments that you've identified through that prioritization work, and then further into each of those out-of-the-box tools. So, for example, can we standardize a 12-month budget across your ag clients and assemble a series of relevant outputs from Figured that can then be used to grow their business and move them along those different tiers of services? And of course, this means you can focus on value-based pricing as well. Just because it might take less time to produce or you're using different team members, it does not make it less valuable. Your farmers are really practical people. When they see an output and how a discussion about that can impact their bottom line, the yield for the season ahead, they aren't going to hesitate when it's a smart business decision. The classic example I've always seen is a $5,000 tax compliance engagement. It goes up to a $10,000 advisory engagement, but they were able to save $30,000 on their interest bill because they were able to spread particular payments. They actually had a view of how they could be more efficient with their cash flow. You know that they're practical. They're going to want to appreciate this insight that you can provide to them. And the last thing that's really worthwhile to note is, again, it's not something that the most senior people in the team are going to do. When it's productized, it's something that we can extend across the whole team. It's a way to build that capability, more power and more insight across that entire internal network. That means you can provide a variety of services and opinions that add value to their clients and their business. So having gone through all of that, we know there was probably quite a bit in there, and we do want to take a moment, pause. If you've got any questions, please sing out, put them in the chat box. It'd be really, we'd love to support and answer them live. So yeah, if you've got a moment, put them in that chat box. We can get straight into it. Whether it might be questions about service design or any other things that we've gone to today. If you've got a question about Figured, what technology challenges that you might see with farm clients or anything else, yeah, we'd love to hear. Fire away if you've got anything in there. Give you a couple of moments just in case. Cool. And if there's anything else in there as well, team, please feel free to get in touch with us as well. Erin and I are more than happy to have a conversation. Awesome. So in terms of what's next, we want to take what we've covered today, give you some tangible options and some next steps as well on what's happening. Now we know that getting started can often be the hardest part. We have recently launched a new quick start program designed to make it really easy to set you up for success through the cloud. So after working with accounting firms across the country and around the world, we've identified a lot of the common barriers that can make it hard to really just get started, and making it into a really easy to execute solution that we can overcome them. It's not a big transformation project. It's designed to start really, really small and set you up for success with those easy wins with a really small set number of clients. So it's about taking action, realizing the value today. So we'll help you with your client's experience, get the value of those ag-specific accounting tools without disrupting those current workflows or processes. So whether it's comprehensive training support or whatever it might be, we want to be able to support you to grow in that. And it's about prioritizing those key features that's going to give you the most success going into more of those conversations as well. And one other piece as well, Erin and I are going to be heading along to the Nebraska Fall Conference next week. So if you are heading along, please drop by and say hello. Happy to answer any questions you might have, whether it be about delivering planning or advisory services to more of your clients, whether you're doing some already or thinking about how you might start, anything like that. We'd love just to have a conversation. You can do a one-on-one live demo as well if needed, and again, tailor it to what's going to be relevant for you. So if you haven't had the chance to register yet, you can scan that QR code and it'll take you to the Nebraska State CPA website where you'll be able to put in your details. And again, we'd love to see you there. Please don't hesitate to flick Erin or myself or Kelly a message. If there's a particular time you'd like to catch up with us while we're there, we'd love to see you.
So we are excited to have you guys both too. but I know you're still not done here. Hold on.
No, it's okay, Kelly, no problem. And no, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be great. And lastly as well, if there's one thing you just want to take away, we've got a free planning guide. No obligation to sign up or anything like that. If you want to have a bit of a read through of some of the concepts we've seen, this is taking a lot of the learnings we've seen, across North America, and putting it into some tangible steps and some tangible actions that we've seen. So please feel free to grab a copy. Again, it's all online as well, if you'd like to see more.